Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So I want to have a chat with you about real estate scams, and it seems unfortunately it's going to get worse in terms of people that get hurt. And I just want to jump right in. Let's take a look at this. So this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. They did a really good piece on this. It says a housing bust comes for thousands of small-time investors. And you guys, I do YouTube all the time, and every now and then we'll expose scammers, stuff like that. And unfortunately, it's everywhere. It really is. And the reason why is because there's always someone new to this stuff. Someone who looking to invest, and you Google whatever, and something comes up, be it YouTube and things. And sometimes you guys may not know this, but people on YouTube and social media, they can pay to get their videos front, and it just becomes really attractive because essentially they promise double your money, etc. But when you look at some of the details of this stuff, it is really a problem. So the basic gist of it, right? During the bubble pandemic between 2020 and 2022, a lot of these things popped up. This particular one, they were talking about and this is something that Wall Street Journal just picked this one, but there's a bunch of this stuff out there. So this guy, he had this company called Apple's Way, and essentially what it was is the Congress changed the laws in 2012. So essentially they call these people syndicators, and the change in the laws made it so that you can market real estate investments online, right? And this is something that I want you to think about it as well as like how regulated is online selling, how regulated is selling crypto, these kind of things. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh my god, Chris, why are you always talking about crypto? Because I think it relates. It's the reason why you want regulations is to protect regular people. And the way that these sort of scams work, they always say, if you're looking for like this hot tip, secret deal that no one else knows about, right? Like basically something that's like private, unregulated, this sort of thing. It sounds attractive to people. But the reason why you want regulation, right, is to protect people. It's essentially to try to prevent scams. So it is a sort of a philosophical thing. But I mentioned crypto because people in the crypto thing are like, I don't want government, I hate government, that kind of stuff, right? I don't trust government. But then when they get scammed and they're like, government, why didn't you protect me? And so this is sort of why you want protections, because there's so many scams out there. So like, for example, this particular person, his name was Gajavelli 61, right? And he got over like 500 million worth of real estate in the Sun Belt, 7,000 units, so really quite a lot, and promoted on social media, this kind of stuff. And it's the same stuff that you see all over YouTube, like your Meet Kevin kind of scam people. It's the same kind of things, and the idea is that you are collecting a bunch of other people's money to use, and then you ultimately collect fees. That's how this game is played. And one of the things that I was thinking about, that they were talking about, and for example, in this one was Grant Cardone does this kind of thing. And for example, the Grant Cardone example that they give in 2020, it says Grant Cardone tells audience that making only $400,000 a year is embarrassment. And he's saying my plane eats 2.7 million a year. And that kind of a talk is just frankly ridiculous. Part of I guess the challenge of living in the USA, with social media these days, you feel like that if you're not rolling in the $400K, $1 million a year by the age 22 or whatever, you feel like you're a failure. And these kind of people on the internet, like they wear these t-shirts, like look at this guy. So this guy is this is one of the persons that they profile in the Wall Street Journal. Is Brad Sumak. I don't even know who this is, to be honest, but you can he's like reading this t-shirt, rent's due, and the basic idea is like you gotta get a piece of this pie of rents going up, and everyone always needs a place to live. And that's sort of how they pitch real estate, is that you can't lose because everyone always has needs a place to live. But the issue is, right, even yes, it's true, people need a place to live, but it doesn't mean they're going to pay any price. Another example would be, even if people need a place to live, doesn't mean necessarily they're always going to have a job, right? These kind of things. And basically what happens with these kind of people, be it your Meet Kevins or your Grant Cardones, whoever this Sumak guy is, they over leverage themselves. They go out and they get like in the previous example we just said, the guy had like 7,000 properties, right? And they borrow to the hilt essentially, and they're using other people's money. And then the issue becomes that they've budgeted themselves out to maximum, and then when any change in interest rates ruins their math, right? They suddenly become underwater. Or if they're tenants who they target low income tenants. So these people are basically slumlords. And if their tenants start to struggle in their work, they get laid off or any number of things, food prices go up, etc. It affects that they can't pay the rent, and you just have this domino effect. And so this is sort of why the free money thing is a real big issue if you make it too easy. And this is sort of, you know, what happened was, you guys, during the pandemic, it just seemed like so easy that you could just give your money to someone and they'll double it. That's what these real estate people promise. And you know, now you can look at these headlines here. It says, rats and roaches, 229 million foreclosure, just started the trouble for Texas investors. Now, I was talking about the same person, the Apple's Way guy. And you know, I want you to understand too that it's not just a USA phenomenon, sort of real estate scams. It's actually happening here in Korea. I've mentioned it a few times, but I just want to mention it to you again. So, and you can read the headline here: South Korea's housing crunch offers warning for other countries. One of the things that it was interesting, this was I think it was The Economist. They measure sort of like household debt and disposable income, and you know, I'm telling you guys, I'm in Korea, so I kind of know how it is. It's sort of, I guess, modern society to where people make it feel like that you have to always be constantly borrowing to keep up with the Joneses, essentially, is a concept. But you can see right here, I mean, South Korea, their household debt to disposable income is 206%, which is like, I know it doesn't make sense, right? But the point is you're going negative. And part of the system here in Korea, which is kind of similar to USA, is when you go through private sort of contracts, private entities to essentially make deals, you have less protections. In the Korean situation is, for example, if someone can't get a proper loan at a bank, what you do, you essentially give a bunch of cash to like a landlord, essentially, and then they hold the cash for a couple of years, and then they can invest your cash into whatever, and then they give you a place to live, and then you have to give them rent on top of that. Or if you give them a large enough deposit, you live rent-free. It's a very different system in the USA, but basically it's based on giving landlords massive deposits. So for example, in this case, there was one here, and this has been a real serious thing, to where people don't get the deposits back. So they call these things Villa Kings, right? And just giving you guys the idea of the kind of numbers that we're talking about. So like a person would give someone, you know, $200,000, okay? So you're not really buying the place, you're just giving them a very, very large deposit to live there, basically, but you're not buying the place. And then that person then, you know, uses that money to reinvest again, and then keep getting more and more essentially people to do the same thing, right? So they're collecting deposits, and the money is just always floating around. Now, to give you an idea though, and this is similar to the US case, is that say for example here, the average Korean, say in 2021, makes 35,000, and so the person who lost all that $200,000, that's like 6 times their annual income. So think of it this way: is like you know, wherever you live, imagine you had to give 6 years worth of your money to move into a place, and then suddenly 6 years worth of your money just vanishes, right? That is a major hit for many people. And you know, I think this is going to be part of the problem with interest rates going up and staying elevated, is you're eventually going to see more cracks, right? People can only stay, you know, like they're kind of treading water. They're not really like, you know, swimming forward hard. They're just, you know, barely keeping their head above, I guess, a better way to say it. And I think this is going to affect a lot of people as it stays elevated. And this is sort of why I tell you guys all the time just to be careful and cautious out there. You know, don't trust any of these sort of people, because this is what it is that, you know, like I'll go back to like the Kevin guy. They're playing with your money. They're playing with your money, and they don't want to shoulder the risk, right? So they promise you to get rich, but they're using your money to do it. And the way that the market is going now, when people say they're going to get rich in real estate, it's all based on there's more money coming in, right? But the money's being sucked out of the system. So I think that's the general lesson I want you to be thinking about, right? Money's being sucked out of the system, and people are borrowed to the hilt, and when interest rates go up in variable cases, they've completely misbudgeted, or they completely overspent. So like in the Grant Cardone situation, he's like, you know, you only make 400K, well, you know, my jet's like 2.4 million a year, you're a loser. And like, you know, like something like this Meet Kevin guy, you know, goes out and buys a jet as well, and does that kind of stuff. And the reason why you do the jet for these kind of people is to market you, to get you into that real estate scam. So please be careful out there. I didn't realize like how big this thing is, because I'm aware of, you know, some of these, but like even the guy today on the Wall Street Journal, the you know, Apple's Way thing, you know, he had 7,000 units, and that's just one of like probably, you know, dozens, maybe if not hundreds of people out there that are you know, pitching these things. And unfortunately, this stuff is largely unregulated and people get scammed. And so, you know, my you know, for example, just going forward, you know, I do think we need to be very, very sort of like, what's right, dog watchy or oversighty, these kind of words, but of these things. And, you know, short of the government doing stuff, that's sort of why we need people in the community to help out each other and say, hey, you know, stay away from this person, stay away from that person, that kind of stuff. And I don't do these kind of videos all the time, but I just want to raise awareness of these issues. I guess a simple rule of thumb is if someone promised you something too good to be true, if someone's saying you can be rich without any work, you know, let me do the work for you, that kind of stuff, you know, these kind of red flags, and they're constantly pitching and selling, it is probably a scam. So love to hear your thoughts on this one. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next video.